Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today we'll talk about Masdevallia orchids. It's not the first video about Masdevallia in this channel, it's the third one, but I've spoken very little about Masdevallias. I don't know much about Masdevallias, but I've had three. I lost my Guinea, I still have this one, and one of them I gave away but anyway, the last one that I have in here, it's a pink Masdevallia. It's a no ID. And I haven't been very lucky with my Masdevallias. I don't think I provided the right care. And I don't have much time, so in the end, I was like, oh, if you're not surviving inside my home, that's okay. But that's not the way moving forward. So this one is a hybrid, and I was hopeful that this one specifically would last longer, and it did. It's still hanging there, but it's a tiny plant, and I'm not sure for how long it would be here. So I had an idea to create a project with this Masdevallia to see what will happen. So let's do it together. I hope you enjoy this content. If you like Masdevallias, if you want to know a little bit more about them, I will link the video about the Guinea down below. But generally speaking, Masdevallias are cool growing type of orchids, cool to intermediate. That's why they're a little bit more finicky. If you live in a tropical country, in a very hot country, I wouldn't recommend them to you. Also, even for beginners, this is a plant that I think it's much easier for you to grow if you have a greenhouse, because they do require high humidity. They enjoy the humidity. They enjoy to have their soil a little bit damp, moist. On top of that, they will decline very quickly if you don't have a huge differentiation in temperature between day and night. So they have very specific requirements in terms of growth. Masdevallias, they grow from Central America to South America in a range of different regions, but lots of different species of Masdevallias grow on top of the mountains in the Andes Mountains, for example, on top of hills and mountains in Colombia, Peru, Venezuela. And these places, they are surrounded by the tropical forest, plus they are very, very moist environments, and some of them are very cold as well because of the high altitude. For this reason, it's quite hard to mimic some of these conditions inside our home. It's not as difficult as Dracula. I've never grown a Dracula, but I have never decided to buy one either because I don't know if I'll be able to keep it alive. But I will try to save this Masdevallia because I love the flowers and I wish to have some Masdevallias in my collection. If I'm successful this time, I might try to buy others in the future. If I am not, I don't know. But let's at least try. I'll show you what I will do with my Masdevallias. If you have experience growing Masdevallias in the UK, let me know down below. I'd love to hear your experience. But if you have any sort of greenhouse, I don't think it will apply here because I grow all of them inside my flat. So I need to offer them something similar to other house plants. So that's why I think I have a big challenge here in front of me. But nonetheless, I will try. So let's try together. Before I transition that, let me just explain how I've been growing it. This is a clay pot that has a container behind it, so works like a self-watering pot. It's full of moss and a little bark and a little bit of bark inside this pot. It's not happy. It hasn't been happy for a while. I lost many growths and I don't know why. Maybe it was the temperature. Maybe I forgot to water it. There is a thing with clay pots. They can be dry very quickly because they will transpirate. But I don't know if that's the reason or it's just because I let it dry between watering, or maybe the temperature inside wasn't really good. Maybe it needs a little bit more humidity. So there are many questions here that I have to answer. It's not that I've not have done my research. I did it, but even so, that's the result. So how I intend to transition this plant? What I have in here is a glass container that I bought with my Macot Spetola, my jewel orchids that I repotted on Monday for you. And I told you that I would reuse that. So I've cleaned my glass container. So there I have the upper lid here. I think when I bought my Macot Spetola, the upper part was broken, so I bought the upper part on Amazon or IKEA, I don't remember. But there we go, I have it here. And what I will do is I will repot this plant inside this glass container because these will keep the humidity very high. And hopefully it will be a successful experiment. I don't know yet, but let's start. So, as I told you, it's a very, very tiny plant, and it was munted by insects, so it has some grazings on the leaf. When I remove from this pot, I'll give you some close-ups. I don't think the moss is old or old enough that would be the reason why this plant started to decline. I definitely think it was my care. So that's why I want to try something new. And the reason why I decided this glass clothes, because I can keep the humidity very high in there. And that's my intention here, is just to observe if high humidity makes a huge difference when we're talking about Masdevallia orchids. So the first thing that I'm doing is just removing it from the pot. As you can see, the pot's massive compared to the size of my plant, but this plant used to be larger. And when I potted inside here, I thought, because this is ceramic will keep the temperature around it a little bit cooler. So it was my intention to make a cooler environment in terms of the temperature. And because it was like kind of self-watering, I thought that would be easier to keep it moist that way. It wasn't very successful, but I tried. So now I have to clean the root system as I do clean all of my orchids. Let's just remove all the moss that we have in here, attach it to the roots, and also I will have to cut all the dead roots as well. Roots in Masdevallia orchids, they tend to be very thin. I have a ton of dead growths. These are all old and dead growths that were attached to these ones. They were dying slowly but surely. Everything was dying in this orchid. It's pretty sad. I have a tiny plant led here. I'm gonna come very close to you to show you. And this plant has 3 roots that are alive. So this is my tiny Masdevallia. All of the strings are hanging here with dead roots. These dead roots, they were development. The external part of the root system was very mushy, so I removed everything. And I have 3 hard to touch roots. I'll keep them. And I have 1 new growth. So that looks like a vegetable, doesn't it? That's it. That's my tiny plant. So I will just remove the strings around this root here. And we get it to the tree. Look how tiny this plant is. But let's try removing everything that's dead, so I don't have dead material or decomposing organic material in my pot. Pretty sad. That's it. I don't even need to rinse water on this root system or anything because it is what it is, right? So now let's start repotting it. Let me change. I'm gonna grab the white tray. So let's start this adventure repotting my tiny Masdevallia on this glass container. My moss is dry. It's New Zealand Sphagnum moss. I will add the bottom layer is gonna be fully moss. I don't need to compress it or anything. However, Masdevallias, they are not epiphyte orchids. They grow on top of rocks, they go on top of moss, and I think some of them are like terrestrial or semi-terrestrial as well. So they are used to a humid environment. I will add some bark here in the middle just to aerate this mix a little bit. But the main mix that I'm using here is definitely sphagnum moss. You'll see that we'll have 1 or 2 bits of bark here and there, but that's not the main material used. So anyway, I will keep like just adding all of this. A little bit of more bark here and there. We are almost there. Very easy to repot that. Never imagined that would be that easy. So each will be here in the center. And now I'll keep topping up with my moss. I have a little bit of moss that was with my Orchid Spatola. This moss, it push out some roots and create like some sort of grass effect here at the top. So let's see if there is something alive in there and if this moss will grow in this pot as well. I'm placing my Masdevallia here in the middle because I am hopeful that it will grow and then I will have lots of new growths and it will have space to grow inside this pot. So what I will also do here is I will add some slow release fertilizer because in my experience, this glass container will keep the humidity very high in here, so I will not have to water this plant much. I remember with my Orchid Spatola, I'll barely water it. So for this reason, I will not fertilize it very often. So some bits of fertilizer I think will be good for my plant to grow. So that was my big repotting. I will clean this table and I will come to conclude my video. So here we are back after this repotting. This is my cute tiny Masdevallia that I will keep in this enclosed space for as long as I need and for as long as it is still alive, or maybe I'll have a bushy plant in the future, who knows. A few thoughts here. As I said, my moss is completely dry, so I did water it already. There is some water here at the bottom. I don't know if it's possible to see, and this water will definitely be sucked by the whole moss and the moss will be evenly moist, which is great. Another thing is Masdevallias are not highlight plants, so they need some sort of intermediate light. They will grow in the soils, as I mentioned before. So there is some filtered light that will go through the leaves and this plant will be able to photosynthesize. For this reason, I don't need to place it near my windowsill here or offer it my brightest growing light. I will place it in one of my shelving that has some sort of intermediate light and it should do okay there. Another thing is, hopefully, because it's a high humidity environment, temperature will not affect this plant as much because I know that it can be very sensitive in hot environments. I am really hopeful that also will make this plant save water because we will not lose water to the environment as much as it was doing before. And then we'll save energy and we'll push out new growths and we'll grow more roots inside this tiny and cute glass setup. This is my thought. Hopefully I'll be able to save this Masdevallia. If I do, I will show you in the future. When this plant is healthy, it's much more bushier and larger than it was now. But since my Orchid Spatola was very tall and was still able to survive inside this glass container, I think my Masdevallia will do super fine in here. I am happy. I think it will be very, very cute. Let's now put the glass lid on top of it. Ta-da! I hope you can see. It is cute, isn't it? I'm happy, super, super happy with that. So now I'll just place it in my shelving as I mentioned. And the funny thing about that, and the positive thing is that this is transparent. So I can see how my plant is doing. I don't need to water it. The plants that survive inside these high humidity chambers, they are amazing because you can keep them forever, not exactly forever, but for a long time in there. And usually you don't need to spend a long time, as I said, watering and looking after them. They are just fine, and I think that will be the case in here. And I'm hopeful that I will finally have a healthy Masdevallia, who knows. As I asked you before, let me know if you grow Masdevallias inside your home. What's your experience? Have you ever tried Masdevallias before? They are beautiful orchids. They are just a little bit more finicker, I would say. I wouldn't recommend them for beginners, but they're lovely orchids nonetheless. And if you want to try, why not? But just research before you buy them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. And I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.